This isn't Stunts. Huh. Must have something to do with the topic of today's video then. Hi, welcome to Stunts Pro Academy, the show that teaches you the tricks of a stunts pro. My name is Overdrive. I'm one of 2 people to ever magic carpet over a loop in a competition, and the only one to ever get disqualified for it. And today, I'll be your driving instructor. The topic of today's lesson: speed ups. Now, as a first order of business, a tiny bit of errata for the first episode, because I showed you this picture and I said that Stunts does not have analog input. If you want to steer not as hard around the corner, you have to tap the arrow keys. And that was unfair to Stunts, because Stunts does have mouse controls and it has joystick controls. And when you use those, you can see that they do have analog inputs, or simulated analog inputs anyway. Now, since that episode, we've been trying out some controls in the community. I got myself a second-hand steering wheel. I'm not too impressed with that, particularly for full-on replay handling. But some others have been trying out controllers. And community researcher Duplo thinks that a good controller, like from one of the major console manufacturers, can in some cases even be better than a bad keyboard. For instance, on a cheaper laptop. I'm going to keep driving with keyboard, but there are more options than I initially said there were. Today we'll be driving the first track of the 2018 Race for Kicks season, a literal race, by me. But we need to modify it a little bit, because we need both a half pipe and a boulevard in this track. But this track has a 2-section pipe and that just won't do. 3 is much better for speed up, so we're going to move the pipe to the 3-part slot, and we're going to move the boulevard to this 2-part slot. You can of course see this other boulevard just before it, the other split road with the green in between, but that is in a position that we can't really use it very well, so we place another one here. So make sure you do this when you're going to do today's challenge. And then that's how the track looks. Okay, we're ready now. Save it and done. We'll be using an original car today that came with the game, the Audi Quattro. All Stunts cars are based on very fast real-world cars, but in the game this one still feels pretty slow. So this way I get the slow car episode out of the way, and we get to put our speed ups to some very good use. Today's driving style will be OWOOT with replay handling. Replay handling means that we can rewind and restart driving at any point. OWOOT stands for one wheel on or over track. Over time the one wheel part was sort of lost. It means that any one pixel of your car must be in contact with the track at any time. If you find a place where it's not in contact with the track, then you're no longer driving OWOOT and you have to start again or use replay handling. We used a zoomable outside view for that, all the way up, 3 steps to the right, so you're completely in line with the car, no zooming. As you can see here, there are frames where I'm not touching the track. Even if this was a large corner with the red and white inside, that doesn't count as the road, you have to be in contact with the grey part. So this attempt is not OWOOT. The main exception are jumping bridges where you are allowed to jump over the gap between the ramps. Now, what are speed ups? Speed ups are a boost system, and boost systems are one of the main ways that racing games really distinguish themselves. Trackmania, for instance, does have track elements that boost you, but jumps actually slow you down. So Trackmania effectively wants you to avoid jumps. Now, at the start of the episode I showed you some footage from Riptide GP Renegade, and that has a modern boost system where you make a big jump and do a trick, and that gives you boost that you can use at any time. Now, Stunts with speed ups cuts out the middleman. You jump, you speed up. Stunts wants you to make jumps, but Stunts also wants you to think when you're making jumps and when and how you can get the most out of your speed ups. There are 5 elements often used to speed ups: bridges, banked roads, corkscrews, boulevards and pipes. And for the pipes, like this one, the good speed up can be found right there. It wasn't the greatest speed up, but we didn't crash, so let's just keep going for now. For the pipe speed up, and the boulevard speed up as well can be tricky in no replay handling situations. But the bridge and the banked road are definitely suitable for no replay handling, as long as you have enough speed. But we're on a slow car today, and that means we're going to try a few times. First, I'm going to try to make this corner a bit faster, because with more entry speed, well, I just have more speed, which is the point of racing. But I also have a bigger chance to get the speed up. Next thing you notice is I go from the high side to the low side. That gives me a higher chance to lift off the ground. And when you lift off the ground, you get a speed up. This is tricky. No wonder I don't like driving slow cars. If at first you don't succeed though, keep trying. Because stunts may not have randomness, but it does depend on subframe timing. So doing something a little bit different can mean it works, while it looked like it was never going to work. And a good way to mess up your subframe timing is to redrive from inside or before the last corner. Even if you don't think you're going to make a faster corner, just try redriving it. Reset that subframe timing, and there we had it. Did you hear that? The revs went up. We saw the meter go up. That was great. Now, going off the banked road, we can also try to get a speed up. You see me try a few times here, but ultimately I also want to get my line right for the corner. And that means I want to be in the outside. And going from outside to inside to desperately try and get that speed up, it's going to slow my overall time down here. So I'm not doing that. Wait, why am I slowing down that much? I'm being a pussy. I'm a bit unfamiliar with this car, so I should just try it at full speed first. See if I can full speed the corner. Well, it wasn't my best corner ever, but that wasn't going to work. So I need to slow down a little bit, but not nearly as much as I was doing there. Yeah. Time for a little counter steer. Little more counter steer. So press the opposite arrow key. And there we have it. We're out of the spin. Next speed up. We're in the right gear for it. There we are. And that brings us to the cork. Now there are different ways to drive the cork. And that's one of them. That's a big speed up you can get on the left side of the cork. But usually, and especially in this case, because of the way the corner is situated, we actually want to be on the right side of the cork. It gives us a wider line to the corner, some more speed, and it also gives us 2 speed ups for the price of 1. I'm saving here. It's a good habit to always save every now and then. And then I'll see if I can get a better line on the outside. Restarting from jump here gives me a nice brake point. I don't even need to have my forward key pressed. And I'm trying to make this corner a bit faster. There I steered in too early. Shot straight through. That's a better line. It's so slippery. Yes, this is going to work. Counter steer at the right moments. Just give it a few tries. This is replay handling. A lot of time we'll be spending corners. And there we had it. Did you see them? 2 speed ups in a row. One on entry, another one on the exit of the cork. So, there we have the first boulevard that we saw in the level editor. I'm not going to mess with that because we have the small corner immediately after. We'll just slow us down. There we have the other one. And this is where you need to be to get the speed up. And like the pipe, this is another one that is very handy with the replay handling, but tricky without it because of the chance to crash. So I got it on the second try. Now that leaves us with just 2 bridges and a cork in between to the end of the track. So I'm going to mess a little bit with that. And you see, if I land too far to the right, I land on the cork. which shoots me to the left. But if I land too far to the left, then I can't steer in and get the speed up on the exit anymore. In fact, I'll just crash against a nice red divider. So that's the tricky part about this cork. Now I've got a higher speed now than I did at the last one. I have no chance to get the entry one, unless I manage to make my jump a lot shorter. So, while I'm messing up, the story of this track. While I was working on a supercar track for Race for Kicks, Kes told me that he had doubts about the name, and maybe he was going to change it. And that gave me the inspiration for track spelling out Race for Kicks, with 4 being the drivable part. It would work either as a celebration of the name, or a goodbye to it. When the track was done, Kes said, well, now I like it a bit better. And that's the story of one of my little contributions to the community, how I maybe sort of helped Race for Kicks staying known as Race for Kicks. And finished. Your assignment for today is to do a lap on this modified illiterate racetrack and get at least 1 speed up on each type of obstacle. Pipe, banked road, bridge, corkscrew and boulevard. The extra credits assignment is to equal or beat 2 minutes 11 seconds. 2 minutes 11 if you really want to hang with the big boys. Now I'm rewinding to show you some extra tips. And first I'm going to rewind to the boulevard, because there's a second place on the boulevard where you can get a speed up. And if there's a really long one, you can even sometimes get a speed up at the beginning and another one at the end. Now the second one is tricky. I have spent quite a bit of time looking for them in the past, so I'm not going to keep trying until I get one. I'm just showing you the spot right there. Then I'm going to keep rewinding to the cork, because the cork is really cool. There's a lot of stuff you can do with the cork. And one of my favorite shortcuts is jumping from the right side to the left side of the cork. If you have just the right amount of speed, you can do that. You can jump over the red divider. And it's really cool to do. But you need, just the right amount of speed for it. I'm going to give it a few half-ass attempts. But it's probably not going to work today, this situation. Nope. Messing up the corner. That's better. And that's probably about as close as I'm going to get now. You saw a really big jump. I got higher than the divider. I didn't go to the left enough. Here's some more cool stuff you can do with corkscrews. You can redirect your car in all sorts of ways. You can jump in different directions, sometimes even over a block of water. So if you see a corkscrew on the track, there's just going to be a lot of possibilities in the right situation. Always keep that in mind. And try to reach these different effects by driving into the cork from different angles. Now that I'm done editing in other shots, I'll rewind further to the half pipe, because there's a thing I wanted to look at. Because there's a second way you can sometimes get a speed up in the half pipe. And that's these little brown blocks at the bottom. You can get a little bit of a jump from them. Sometimes you can get a speed up. In general, it's not really worth it, because you got such a nice speed up opportunity at the beginning. But sometimes in a very long half pipe with high enough speed, it can work as a bonus. But mostly in replay handling races, because these are super easy to crash into if you get your line a little bit wrong. So, what does a replay look like after a race like today? Now, eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that I didn't save at the end of the race. I did save at the corkscrew, the first one. So I've redriven everything from there. It's going to look a little bit different, but not that much. And while we practice our corners and we just drive the loop normally, I would like to take this time to remind you that for this style of driving, Race for Kicks is a great competition. They do strict OWOOT, which means you have to do every obstacle as intended. That leaves out our corkscrew tricks, but the rest can just be driven like this in strict OWOOT. Furthermore, I'd like to give another plug to the Custom Car Championship, as well as, of course, the big one, Zach Stunts. And there is a live race coming up on March 3rd. So I'll link all of that below, and a live race is really a nice event to visit. So please think about that. Now look at the rev meter as we go through this pipe. How much we actually speed up. And that's very little. There was a much bigger gain to be had there, especially with the straight after. I've been a bit lazy. Would have paid off. Now, this was the one we spent so long on. Very nice. up the bank corner. Another long straight part. Well, not straight, but the bank corner is basically a straight. This one doesn't add too much because there's a corner right after, but it's always fun to do. Remember the different options for the corkscrew, but today we want to go right. This small corner was better in the original drive, but now as we come up to the Quark bridge, I want you to pay close attention to what the car does on the second bridge. There, right there, did you see that? Car lifted up just a little bit. And that's a magic carpet, that's a very small magic carpet. And magic carpets are basically spontaneous speed ups. As I said, there's no real randomness in stunts, but there is all sorts of subframe timing, and especially if you're jumping around, if you're landing not quite on all wheels at the same time, if your car is crooked when it lands or when it takes off, you can get these jumps that we call magic carpets. And the greatest pros, they're able to use it when they want it. They just replay handle the shit out of it, fishing for that magic carpet to get past that one obstacle. And magic carpets can be very small, magic carpets can be very big. Since I teased it in the beginning, let me show you the time I jumped over a loop. I had some silence here initially, but there's one more thing that didn't come up during the drive. If you're near the top of your gear, remember to shift up before the speed up. Now back to the jump. It truly is the lol, so random of stunts tricks. Now as a final note, I didn't do any OWOOT checks while driving because the corners all went fine and I realized that I stayed on the track. But when I checked afterwards, I noticed that I went a bit too enthusiastic in trying to get the exit speed up of the first corkscrew, and I was just outside bounds here. 1 pixel between it. So if this was real competition, this run would be disqualified as not OWOOT. And that's one of the reasons why strict OWOOT is popular, because these speed ups introduce a risk that you fail your run. Anyway, the challenge is 5 types of speed ups or 211 if you want more. Keep driving and keep jumping over loops.